is it today? March 24th?
Yep, 3 o'clock.
March 24th. There we go. So we have another PSA.
Yes. So technically, all the information that's coming out of our mouth is already outdated. That's how quickly things are changing and evolving here in New York, and I am sure across the country as well, which is why we decided to start, I would say, almost a documentation process. Yeah. Where we are turning around and we reach out to a whole bunch of people in the community to come on a fairly regular basis and let us know how things are going in their areas, problems, solutions. Sometimes a person in some small town could have a really good solution for somebody in a big city. So this is a way of sharing information and learning in real time as possible. Because to be honest with you, we don't really have the time to wait for another conference to pop up to get this information out here. So here we are today to each one of you want to give yourself a quick introduction and where your location is.
Start with Joe, because he's on the left.
All right. Joe Day from City Utica Fire Department. We're in located central New York.
Nice. You got old Rob there.
Oh, who's that?
Oh, other side? Yeah. Rob Horrigan from, I'll just say the southwestern corner of British Columbia and Canada, and just the head of hazmat out here for my department, and 20 years of messing with this stuff.
And we got the ever-present Toby. How are you, Toby?
Good. So I'm from central Indiana, from a medium to small size department, and we're just getting in the heat of this at the moment.
So does anybody have something like, is it like a Mayday yet anywhere?
Not at this point so. For us.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Somebody.
Okay. In the west coast of Canada here, it's definitely gone to Mayday status. We've had my last tour, I lost count of the memos, the updates, and everything like that are coming through every day, 4 times a day. I kid you not. We've got a new update. We've got a COVID task force that is putting out best practices and things like that, videos for all our members. And I was telling the other guys earlier, I'm officially on 14-day quarantine right now. So woke up with it. And so, but what the latest thing that we're doing right now, if we jump into that now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. We started off with, they came to me and they said, what are we going to use for suits? What are we going to do for protecting our guys on medical calls? And it seemed like overkill at the time, as it did for everybody. But we went with they decided to go with the Tyvek suits because that's all that was left. The chief says to me, I can get 1,500 Tyvek suits right now. Unfortunately, they're all 4XL. But so you could put 4 of me in that. And then
we actually had those specifically made for one guy in our firehouse.
Yeah. So then we've got the THMG as well. We've got a few of those. I've been paying attention to what you guys, your PSAs that you're talking about, and your interviews with Dr. Baxter, been religiously following those. But as of yesterday, they are now putting us on SCBA for everything. We've got a procedure for cardiac arrest calls where we, the 2-man CPR on the patient with the paramedics. They don't have SCBA, but this is what we're doing now. And we have the driver, we have 4-man engines. The driver on the engine will be doing bottle shuttling. The captain, me, I'm not sure what my role is yet, but I'm probably going to be helping with decon. What does the captain do anyway?
Well, there's the siren pedal.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
That's it. So are you doing the SCBA out of an abundance of caution or as a response to lack of resources?
I think it's a little bit of both. We're seeing a real shortage, as I'm sure everybody is, on the West Coast here with we've got hoarding going on like nobody's business. It's like the apocalypse. I expect to see the Walking Dead walking down the street here, but everybody they're N95s, your gloves, your Isogel. You can't get Lysol wipes anymore. So this is probably due to anticipated lack of resources or lack of equipment that's coming out. So even alarms ringing, we go to a fire alarm call, we go in the lobby and there's people milling around. We're supposed to be in full SCBA on air. Yeah.
How is your, all right, so how is your air resupply resources? As long as you guys are going down that route, was there any problem with the logistics of resupplying those? Because, I mean, you could go on an automatic alarm, couple automatic alarms throughout the day. Now your SCBA is, below the green or in an area that it needs to be swapped out. Is that logistics being ramped up? Did you guys make that decision because you do your own air? Do you have a company that's supplying you with bottles and filling up? Like, how is that logistics on the back end working?
We've got two air trucks. Our two rescues they've got compressors on. We can refill all our bottles. And they've got a healthy stock of spare bottles. And we have spare bottles in all of our halls and on our trucks too. So
Joe, what about you? I mean, I would say you're in a department that's kind of capable, we'll say. What's going on up there by you guys?
Right now, we actually have been pretty lucky. We don't have anybody in quarantine at this time. We are good with supplies. We have done we've had fit tests on everybody before, but all the new firefighters have been fit tested for P100s. And we have a good supply of those. I think we have about 700 or 800 in stock with replacement filters. We do run an ambulance service out of the fire department as well. And what we're doing is now we're limiting the amount of people that go into the call. So, a district rig will respond with the ambulance, and they'll stage outside the house unless the paramedics inside request them to come in for assistance. That way we limit the amount of exposure to people. We are, every call, they are wearing their P100s, and we just ran out of gowns. So we have a large order of Tychems coming in, I believe because the Tyvek is not bloodborne pathogens, correct?
I don't remember. One of them is chemical. One is
Tyvek is
Yeah.
not bloodborne.
Tyvek is not safe.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Right. But don't forget, and we actually, I believe we talked about this with Baxter. You're wearing some of this stuff, not necessarily in where you're covering yourself in blood. You're just looking to create a physical barrier. So don't feel too like unsure of your PPE because it's technically not a physical barrier. Because it's technically not bloodborne pathogen certified.
Right. Yeah. We also just ordered a bunch of the CLO2 for decon for the ambulances and the apparatus. So we're waiting on that. We do have an electrostatic gun. Once that comes in, we will use that for the ambulances. And we also limited the amount of supplies that we did put in the ambulance. So they're just following the basic 800 specs, and that's it. There's nothing extra in the ambulance. So that's where we're at right now.
Toby, what about you guys?
So right now we're good with supplies. We actually, ironically, have like 3,000 respirators from Ebola left over. Never got used. And we are transitioning from the N95 surgical masks to P100s. So we're in the process of fit testing everybody, switching to half face with the anticipation that our call volume will increase. We just had our first crew get quarantined. It happened last night. I was talking earlier before we started. Group went in, totally disregarded all the just-in-time training we did for cardiac arrest, and loaded the guy, got him to the hospital. All 4 people were in the room, or 5 people. And then the hospital called back and said, hey, this is we're pretty confident this is a case and you guys need to quarantine. So we do have a plan in place. We set up our training center as a quarantine center. So the crew basically goes through the training center while we wait for some results. If at shift change there's no results and they're not showing any symptoms, they're sent home to self-quarantine. So that's our basic protocol. About 10 days ago, this was a non-issue. A lot of people were kind of scoffing at it. About 7 days ago, we hit full panic mode, rewriting our co-op plan, pandemic plan, staff meetings, and everybody's Dr. Google, right? Everybody's got an opinion that this is right, this is wrong, and trying to keep people on the right path has been our current battle.
Well, guess how many of what is the percentage of our department that is quarantined due to possible exposure?
I think Bob said 78 members.
None.
None?
We are not quarantining due to possible exposure. You only go sick.
Oh, possible exposure.
When you get symptoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be the next step. Just looking ahead in what your manpower might potentially be is you get to the point where you're just like, sorry guys, like everyone's being possibly exposed. Come to work if you feel good.
Yeah, they basically saying if you're asymptomatic, you come to work. When you are symptomatic, you call the medical office and you say, I'm symptomatic, and they'll basically say, okay, take 2 weeks, and then you come back. Which you can listen. We all work with clowns, and there's gonna be guys that are gonna be like, oh, I don't feel good, and they're gonna take 2 weeks off. But I think you're gonna have to kind of show some symptomology on that one.
So our plan in writing says if you were wearing your PPE, you were not exposed and you will not quarantine. However, like I said, the crew disregarded all PPE. They had nothing on when they went in. And so that was the quick shuffle. Our next battle is going to be the germaphobes who aren't going to believe they weren't exposed. And despite having proper PPE on, battling with that.
How's the attitude within the firehouse or within your station as far as guys limiting their distances and doing the proper precautions that they should be doing? Is that being adhered to, or do you generally see a lot more lax when it comes to social distancing at work?
Our guys have been really good about basic, sanitation, hand wiping. Again, part of since the panic hit, now we do an IAP every day, and it gets updated at 5 p.m. the night before for the next shift. And one of the things we've instituted is 0700, right when shift starts, you sanitize the station, all flat surfaces going through, or disinfect, I should say. And so since we've started that, guys have gotten much better and much more serious about it. Early on, it was very lackadaisical. We had a few people that were freaked out about it, and most people were like, yeah, whatever, it's just another thing. And I think now we're at the point right now in Indiana where we're seeing our numbers double every day. And so we're just on the uphill of this. And so people are taking a lot more serious now, I think.
Joe, how about your place?
So we have limited access to the firehouses. So no outsiders, no family, anybody inside. The guys are obviously mandated to shower before leaving duty and leave their uniforms here, and they will be taken care of for laundry. At work, it's tough because there's still your daily duties that need to be done. However, do the best you can, I guess. So when we get to the point where there's more people getting sick, then I guess we'll have to look at that another way. But as of right now, we haven't made any changes other than no outsiders.
Rob?
Yeah, all our halls are like yours, Joe. We're on lockdown. Nobody from outside. We've split all of our tables in the kitchen apart. We have definite 6-foot distance between everybody. So we've got a fresh crop of probies who every shift change, they are mandated to go and wipe down every surface, doors, keyboards, phones, everything like that. And just that general kind of housekeeping is ramping up too.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the trend for a lot of people. Like, it's funny as it is. like currently our kitchen table is the only place where you're still eating shoulder to shoulder, and we were actually considering staggering meal times so that you do it in 3 steps. Yeah, but there's firehouse traditions. Well, we got to put them off to the side. You got to put them to the side for a little bit to make sure that we all get out of this alive. Because it just in my firehouse we have 2 guys that are symptomatic. They are not in the firehouse anymore, and they're kind of coming through it now. One guy is just starting to get it, so we're going to see how that all goes. And the stress of having guys on vacation, which they're now trying to cancel or defer vacations, which comes on to a whole nother conversation in itself. But I just got off the phone maybe 20 minutes before the show started with a friend of mine that's to the west of where I am sitting, and he was asking us how we are cleaning the gear. So if you're in fire gear and you come into contact, what is the plan for that? Do you guys have plans, not for the PPE, because we were talking about this in the last one. If you're greater than 6 feet away from the patient, you really don't need to wear a mask or the gown and all the other stuff. So what happens if there's you go to a fire and you make a grab? And this specifically happened where another department, I don't remember where it was, had a fire. They grabbed 2 people and they were positive corona. Now you are thrust into this. Is there any plans out there that you guys know of?
For us, we have 2 sets of gear. So if we're in our gear and there's potential for exposure, obviously we'll change your gear. And we do have washer and dryer for turnout gear in every firehouse.
So what's the turnaround speed, Joe, on getting a set of gear washed?
It washes fast, and then the thing that takes most time is the drying it. We do have the drying racks. Probably within 4 or 5 hours, you can probably get back into that set of gear.
Okay.
Rob?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Our turnaround time is pretty long.
Well, then you have to change that around for the personnel as well. So, one set of gear at a time.
Yeah, same as you, Joe. We've got washers in every hall now, and about 4 hours. We've got the dryers too. Spare set of gear is mandatory, and we used to keep it at one of our 7 halls, which made no sense to me, because if you get dirty at a fire, someone's got to go and get it now and then bring it back to you. So we're keeping it all in the hall with us in a bag, and when it gets contaminated, potentially contaminated at a call, we have garden sprayers with a decon solution or a disinfectant solution that we will spray on, just like we were doing hazmat decon.
Yeah.
And then emergency doffing of your turnout gear with your mask last type of thing.
So
supposed to work. Supposed to work like that.
our plan is essentially site decon, just like after a fire or other unknown hazmat incident. And then you're supposed to report again to the training center. We've designated that to be the gear extractor that everybody's supposed to use if they have contaminated gear. We've not quite broached the subject. What happens when you have multiple people? That has to happen. And then we've got currently we have a supply of spare set of gear that you can check out while yours is being laundered. We ironically just started the process of 2 sets of gear for everybody, and so we're not really there yet.
We have, and specifically that's why he told me to ask to find out what we do, and we actually have a whole unit, what we call the decon support unit. It's a building that has quite the laundry in it. It's an incredible laundry. They have gray water collection, pressurized rooms, guys get into gear, and they do fire gear, they do biologicals, etc. But our turnaround, I think, is about 4 to 5 days under normal operations. Right now, I think they might have ramped it up, and they are kind of churning it out. But they do a lot. They do like 100 sets a day. So it's not like, oh, I can turn one set of gear around in 4 or 5 hours. They're turning around 100 sets of gear in a week. That's a lot. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Although
long term, I think a lot of departments are going to get into laundering their own somehow, some way, to get something like that.
I think short term for now, as this starts to progress, you'll probably start to see policies of, okay, we're not laundering the gear, we're disinfecting the gear, and you're just going to have to keep on going.
Yeah. Anybody
Yeah.
think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We're the product we're using for disinfection. The manufacturer actually said they wouldn't warrant it for porous gear, which started a porous surface, which started a whole battle about what was the best practice. So that's where we ended up with. Currently, our plan is spray down disinfectant, carefully remove the gear, and take it to be laundered.
What are you using? Somebody said they spray down on scene for the disinfect on scene. What solution did you end up going with for disinfecting gear on scene?
It's biodegradable. It's called Decon 30. I've never heard of it before, but it's a biodegradable one. It's safe for skin and equipment, and it's a spray on, leave on. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's a spray on, leave on.
Okay.
Contact time is 10 minutes before it's supposed to work.
Okay.
And we're using Brew Tab right now at the 1,000 parts per million mixture with 10-minute dwell time. For surfaces, we're using the 4,000 parts per million for 1 minute dwell time. So that's right where we are right now.
Interesting. Joe, what about you?
We have, like I said, we have the electrostatic gun with the Dahlgreen solution, but we have not had to use that yet. So when the time comes, I guess that's probably going to be our plan until we receive our chlorine dioxide. And then probably be that.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty effective.
Yeah, it's okay on gear too, right?
Has anybody? Sorry,
Yeah,
Bob.
I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
We have used chlorine dioxide for the MRSA, not MRSA. MRSA, right? Yeah, MRSA. At our fire academy, there was huge outbreaks, and they literally would use the chlorine dioxide in the gear rooms overnight to try to kill everything. Now, the Proby's gear is not being technically used for firefighting, so I don't know, but I believe it's okay on bunker gear.
Rob, you had some?
I was going to ask if anybody else had. Joe's got the electrostatic sprayer. I just heard you guys talking to Dr. Baxter the other day about the electrostatic sprayers, and it sounded very interesting. I was wondering if anybody else had any experience using it to get into those hard-to-reach places on the truck. We don't run ambulances out of our halls, but I know they're great for the ambulances.
That's what we're using for truck stations, anything like that right now.
Yeah.
And they work great?
Works awesome. We've not had any issues. Like I said, right now, our current guidance from the administration is to use the 4,000 parts per million, which is a 1 minute dwell time. And the nice thing with the electrostatic sprayer is I feel comfortable if the guys miss a spot, it probably got covered. We don't have to kill ourselves trying to get every nook and cranny.
Right.
Now you said you use that for the fire stations too. How many do you have? And
so sore spot at the moment. We have one gun and we have 8 stations. So we are currently doing the stations based on run volume. So if guys made a lot of runs that day, so if the potential is greater, that's how we're prioritizing. We've got a couple slow stations that our runs are down right now. Fortunately, everybody's staying home, so the runs are down. So if you don't make any runs, we're not going to be there. That's pretty low on the priority list. So if that gun breaks or we lose it, that's all we got.
yeah.
But if the gun breaks, I mean, listen, they are phenomenal tools, right? They definitely help
absolutely.
a lot. But a sprayer will do, a very adequate job. It's not going to get the nooks and crannies, but your fingers aren't getting into the nooks and crannies either.
Absolutely, and we actually have gone away from liquid bleach in all the fire trucks and have switched to BrewTab as our biological, blood wash down kind of product. So every single truck in the station has a pump sprayer with BrewTab. So every truck in the fleet has that. So we've got that available as well.
Interesting. Anything else you
All right.
guys think is going to be a problem, or is a problem that's local to you guys that maybe we can share with other people that maybe isn't being considered by my department, your department, something like that we should talk about? Anything? Joe?
Yeah, I know that, when things pick up around here, because they're, we all know they're gonna, we're looking at staffing extra ambulances with callback personnel and running just, it would be the COVID-19 ambulance. And any possibility that call is Corona case, then they'll send that specific ambulance to treat that patient. And we're going to start prioritizing calls. So if you call and say you have a bellyache, but you think you have Corona, you're going to wait until after the person that calls with respiratory distress and has possibility of Corona. And then we will probably at that point staff a decon rig to follow the ambulances around. So when they take the patient out and go to the hospital, we'll go through with the gun, spray down the ambulance. They'll come out 10, 15 minutes later and they'll wipe it down. So it's, when things pick up, that's probably what we're looking at doing.
Rob?
We've, as of just this week, our neighbor department, the big one next door to us, they have started to triage all of their medical calls. They're no longer going to anything that is, if you're not dying and you're not burning, they're not going. We haven't gotten that far yet, but like you guys say, our call volume is definitely diminished a lot. Toby, I think you were saying that. And as of yesterday, I was just informed, I had a phone call from our COVID task force. We are now going to be responsible as a hazmat team or as a fire department to decon other agencies, including the ambulance service, police, and even neighboring fire departments that don't have a hazmat or decon capabilities for their people. So we've started to ramp up our training with we've got 2 Zumro tents. We've got the 3-lane mass decon one, and we've got the single lane one with the 4 pools in the shower, the enclosed shower and all that kind of stuff. So we were talking about leaving that inflatable shower, the single lane one, at our main central station, inflated, ready to go. The police, we don't get called to their calls when they're getting sneezed on, coughed on, spit on, whatever it happens to be. They know where they can go to get decon, so they come to us. And sounds like that's going to be the plan. We're still spitballing this, so if anybody's got any thoughts on how we do that. The other option was going to be us going to where they are, which could increase their anxiety levels as to, well, when the hell are they going to get here? As to, they know how long it takes them to get code 3 to our main fire hall. So the anxiety level is less. So if anybody has any thoughts about how we could do that different or more effectively.
I think my only question would be is if you're already losing firefighters to quarantine, do you have the manpower to keep up with decon for departments other than your own, right? So would it be easier if somebody went over and just taught them, to get some disinfectant and a pump sprayer? Would that be, maybe something like that?
That might be. We've got our police force is not necessarily hazmat savvy, and when they get contaminated with something, the anxiety level seems to, we've got fire in the city, let's let them do it. Not to knock our police force, but their knowledge of hazmat, like I say, is extremely limited. It's a federal police force in Canada here that we have, so.
I'll have to chew on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're spraying down their horses?
Apparently horses can't get this, I heard. Which is why we're getting rid of all of our diesels. We're going back to horses.
Back to horses.
Back to horses.
Toby, what about you? What do you think is coming up on the horizon?
One of the things that we've been starting to address, especially with the panicked hoarding buying, is food in the engine house. If we go, so our continuity of operation plan says when we lose a third of our staffing, we go to 2 shifts instead of 3 shifts, and we lose 50% of our staffing, we go to a single 24-hour shift, 7 days a week. At that point, or somewhere in between, getting food for the engine house is going to become an issue. We've started we've got some MREs available for, you know, our task force and deployment and stuff like that. But that's kind of become a hot topic about, I don't have a solution for it yet, but how are guys going to get, we have a no travel ban. We're not allowed to leave the station for any non-department business. Obviously getting food would be department business, but restaurants are all starting to shut down. The carry out for a lot of them just isn't working. And as the grocery stores are having trouble stocking, what are we going to do for food in the engine house? That's our big dilemma at the moment.
Interesting.
Well, I would recommend trying to reach out to and finding the distributors and suppliers for the restaurant companies. I know a lot of them in our area are staying open because there is so much takeout. I know from a supply chain point of view, our economy really kind of ramped up more to service food industry than you know, the actual supermarkets. Like you can just get, you know, better stuff at the restaurant suppliers, and a lot of those food chains, that supply chain is staying open. So my recommendation for that would be reach out to your local restaurant suppliers and figure out if you can work something out where those guys come and they pick up, maybe they're picking up a 40-pound box of chicken cutlets, but they've got a 40-pound box of chicken cutlets that they can use until it goes away, instead of having to go to the supermarket or fighting with the smaller packaging that is more of a consumer grade item.
Yep, that's a great idea.
Well, we're about up on time, unless we have anything else. Mike, do you have anything else? Anybody have anything else?
Nope, those are all of my questions.
Well, we're gonna come back with round 2. If anybody's got anything to throw out there, obviously the comment section on the YouTube, this video is gonna be open. All of us will be kind of checking it out and commenting as it goes. We will be putting out these PSAs periodically with different information. This is international. Ooh. International. But we actually have a couple people that from other countries and other areas that wanted to come on as well, discussing their problems and their solutions to that. So if any of the questions or problems that have been posted on this show, you have a solution for, by all means, put it in there. Let's put it onto this the comment section and share the information. Go to your Facebook groups and whatever, and let's help each other get through this. I think that's how we're going to really get through this, to be honest with you.
That's it.
So thank you everybody for coming on, and we'll catch up with you guys soon.